Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank you for attending Financial Harmony, Empowering Older Adults and Financial Caregivers. And this is brought to you by Citizens. Citizens supports nonprofit organizations whose financial education and resources help advance social equity, close opportunity gaps, and revitalize local communities so all people can realize their potential. If you're an older adult, a caregiver, family member, sister, friend, elected official, or anyone supporting a person with financial or estate planning needs, this webinar is absolutely for you. My name is Kendra Dunstan, and I'm the Development and External Affairs Coordinator here at Build Up Justice NYC. For those who know us and for those meeting us for the first time, we are Build Up Justice NYC, formerly known as Brooklyn Legal Services Corporation A. While our name has changed, our mission remains the same, and that's to advance economic and racial justice by providing free, community-centered civil legal services to low-income New Yorkers across all 5 boroughs. We serve communities in rapidly gentrifying neighborhoods where tenants, homeowners, and small business owners often face displacement, harassment, and financial instability. Our work focuses on protecting stability, dignity, and long-term security. Here at Build Up Justice, as you can see on the screen, we have 3 core programs. Our Preserving Affordable Housing program helps tenants stay in their homes through eviction prevention, anti-harassment advocacy, fair housing claims, and access to essential services. That program is available in Brooklyn and Queens. Our Community Economic Development Program supports small businesses and nonprofits with commercial lease assistance, negotiations, and nonprofit formation. And tonight's webinar is brought to you by our Consumer Economic Advocacy Program, or CEA, which helps individuals and families build financial stability, including preventing foreclosures, resolving tax issues, offering wills and estates planning, and providing powers of attorney and healthcare proxies. Under CEA, we also have a domestic violence unit that assists with orders of protection, custody, and support. Now, I am happy to introduce Andrew Epstein, our wills and estates attorney. Before joining Build Up Justice NYC, Andrew worked in public accounting, law, and finance, advising clients on wills and estates, tax, and compliance matters for individuals, small businesses, nonprofits, and financial institutions. Sorry, there we go. His work focuses on helping homeowners and families from historically underserved communities across New York City protect their legacies and build generational wealth. Andrew earned his JD from Fordham Law and his LLM, his Master's in Law and Taxation from NYU, and he is admitted to practice in New York and New Jersey. I am pleased to turn it over to Andrew, who will speak briefly about the services we offer under our wills and estates practice and how this work helps individuals and families plan for the future, protect their assets, and ensure their wishes are honored.
Thanks, Kendra. That's always great to get such a great introduction, and I'm really excited to talk to everyone tonight about estate planning, and especially how that is so important for elderly individuals and older adults, and how important it is to plan for the future, which is something that we at Build Up Justice really try to focus on. So some of the key concerns that I'm going to cover tonight, first of all, and probably the most important thing that most people are probably thinking about, is preserving assets for your family and the kind of documents that you can use to do that through estate planning. The first, and something that you're probably all more or less familiar with, is a last will and testament. It's your will. And also something that people are often a little less familiar about, but it may even be a more powerful type of estate planning tool, is a power of attorney, which we'll go into in a few minutes. Another key concern is naming a trusted decision maker, someone who can help you out in the case that you're incapacitated, whether it comes to making a healthcare decision or whether it comes to making financial decisions. The kind of documents that you can usually use to help yourself with that are a power of attorney or a healthcare proxy. And then last but not least, but we'll probably touch on it the lightest, is protecting assets from probate. Probate is something that happens after you pass away, and it can often muck up transfers of your property from you to your heirs. One of the ways to help speed up that process is to use trusts, and I'll do a very quick overview of the kinds of trusts that you can prepare and the kind of trust that we offer at BJNYC. Next slide, please. So first, I want to go over what happens when you have a will. What does a will do? What can it be used for? First, and very important, you select and empower a trusted executor. This can be a family member, it can be a spouse, it can be a child, it can be a very close friend. An executor is someone who, after you pass away, they step into your shoes and they essentially, it's their job to manage your assets and settle your estate. It's very important to pick someone you trust because if you pick someone who you don't necessarily know, you can't necessarily trust that they're going to distribute your assets according to your wishes. Right on that, it dictates how your assets are managed after death, and it gives instructions for your executor to follow. It can say whether you want certain assets to go to your children, friends, other family members, if you want to make charitable contributions. All of that gets handled in the will. If you have any minor children, it also is a very important tool to establish guardianship. While a will on its own cannot legally determine who a child's guardian is going to be, it's a very important piece of evidence when the family court takes a look at that time when making custody decisions. Some notes about wills: they must be executed according to formalities of New York law. Essentially, what that means is it has to be typed out or written and signed according to certain very specific rules. Unlike many other states, New York does not allow any handwritten wills. The only situation, if you're a New York resident, where you can have a handwritten will is if you're a member of the military in an active combat zone or a mariner at sea. Because that applies to so few people, the rule that you should think of is that it is not allowed. Because even if you are in an active combat zone, that will is no longer valid the minute you return home. I do like to tell a little story, though, about how other states, sometimes you can see that you'll see stories where someone, especially a celebrity, may have had a handwritten will. So I always like to tell the story of Aretha Franklin, who passed away a few years ago. Her estate, she had some very fancy estate planning done. She had a will done by a big law firm. Everything was all set to go. But when they were cleaning out her home, they found a handwritten will between the cushions of her couch. She lived in Michigan at the time. Michigan does not have rules like New York. So in Michigan, that handwritten will superseded all of that work she had done. So that's kind of the reason why New York doesn't allow it, because we want to make sure that people's wishes are set in stone and they can't quickly change things. The next and last and most important point is that the will may need to be probated in surrogates for you after you pass away. What that means is that your executor, who you designate, will take the will to court, file a petition and say, someone has passed away. I've been named the executor of the will. And the court makes sure everyone who needs to be notified about the will is notified. And then they can officially give your executor legal authority to step in and actually take the steps necessary to manage your estate. Next slide, please. And so next, I want to go over just these different types of trusts that we have here. So when I was talking about avoiding probate is done mostly and most easily with a revocable trust. Revocable means that when you create the trust, you can change it at any time freely during your life. You can change its terms. You can change who your trustees are. It's very flexible. What that does is it simplifies estate administration. And even though you do have to give up title of your house to the trust, because you're going to be the trustee of that trust, you maintain complete control. There are certain types of ownership situations where maybe a condo board or a co-op board won't allow you to do this. But when it's permissible, I very frequently, especially when there's real estate involved, frequently recommend clients consider a revocable trust. We prepare revocable trusts at BUJ NYC. The other types of trusts are things that we typically don't prepare. An irrevocable trust is the opposite of a revocable trust. Once you create it, it's set in stone and it is very difficult to change without some significant legal work. It's typically used if you have special tax considerations for special creditor concerns. The vast majority of clients that we see, it's unnecessary. There's a lot of news out there that people think that you need one in order to protect yourself. It's only in very specialized situations do you need an irrevocable trust. The last is something called a testamentary trust. That gets created by your will. In the situations that I tend to see, the reasons that we would create a testamentary trust is if there's a minor receiving property and you want to make sure somebody can hold that property until they're an adult. Next slide. So the next set of documents I want to talk about that can be prepared, and these are honestly some of the most important documents that you can think about. And this is especially important for elderly individuals who want to be able to plan for a time when they may not be able to make decisions for themselves. The first is a power of attorney. A power of attorney is a document where you designate an agent who has the power to make financial decisions for you in the event of your incapacity, whether that's a physical incapacity or a mental incapacity. You can name multiple individuals to be your power of attorney, and you can also name multiple successors. It's a form document that comes from the state and it comes from legislation, but it's fairly customizable, and you can put in many different kinds of conditions for when and how you might want someone to take that power and what powers they may have. Accompanying a power of attorney is a healthcare proxy. When you make someone your power of attorney, they can only make financial decisions for you. A healthcare proxy can make healthcare decisions for you, which is often some of the most fraught decisions that someone can make. It's very important to have someone designated so you don't have doctors who you don't necessarily know making decisions that you may not want them to make. For a healthcare proxy, you can only name one agent at a time. So that takes away disagreements among your agents, and you can only name one successor. Paired with the healthcare proxy is something called a living will. A living will, I want to be very clear, has nothing to do with your last will and testament. It is not a will at all. What it is it gives your healthcare agent that you designate in your healthcare proxy, it gives them instructions on what to do in the event they have to make a decision on your behalf. So think of it as something kind of like a DNR, where you can say, if I'm beyond, kind of beyond help, you can cease giving treatment and let me pass away according to natural causes. Or it can say, continue giving me life-saving treatment. It takes that decision away from some of your family members who are probably going to be going through a difficult time. And so it's actually kind of a gift that you can give someone to be able to say, here's the decision. I've already made it for you. Thank you. And so one last slide to go over just some other considerations. I know I'm flying through this very quickly, but some very important other considerations. Beneficiary designations. On retirement accounts, IRAs, certain bank accounts, you can make beneficiary designations directly through a financial institution. These are called non-probate assets. And what that means is that you can make these designations outside of your will. And as long as those designations are made, they control, not the will. The only time your will would have a say over those assets is if your designations are not made. Something else very important and becoming more and more important as time goes on are digital assets. These can be digital currencies, they can be cryptocurrencies, other sorts of electronic property you may have. In your will, you can designate how these assets are distributed. Disposition of remains is another kind of special document that we have in New York where you can arrange if you have pre-planned funeral arrangements, you can designate someone to take control of your remains after you pass away to make sure those arrangements are followed. And then last, this goes along with the trusts that I was talking about before. If you have real property, there's a whole other slew of considerations you may want to take. And it can create a different style of estate planning. So it's something, if you meet with an estate planner, to always mention whether you own property that you live in, if you own any vacation property, if timeshares are included here too. There's lots of considerations to make with that. And with that, I think that's my time. And I apologize for rushing through a lot of these very complicated topics, but Indra, I'll hand it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Of course.
Firstly, the work that you do is so valuable, not only to build up Justice NYC, but all of our neighbors and future generations. You're out here really doing the work and ensuring that we're continuing to keep equity in our Black and Brown communities. And I so appreciate all you do and always being available to hop in and jump in there. Um, like Andrew said, it's a lot of information to digest. At the end of this webinar, I will have a slide up with our general information box that you can email us. And if you had more questions about your personal circumstances, or even if you want more information about what we do in our wills and estates practice, you can email that address and we will get those questions over to Andrew. And I will also be emailing you that information after the webinar. Andrew, thank you again for your time tonight. He will be around a little bit later for questions if you have some tonight.
Not
All
going
right.
anywhere. Yep.
Thank you. Now we are just about ready to get started, but before I do, I'm going to let you know that there will be a Q&A at the end of the program. You will have the option of either typing your questions right into the chat box, or you can click the little hand raise icon on your screen down there. And when you do that, I can unmute you and you'll be able to ask the experts your questions directly. Now, keep in mind, we do want to keep your time. And at top of mind and be respectful of your time. So if we get to the end and there are a lot of questions and we run out of time, again, there will be an email address that you'll be able to forward those questions to us and we will get back to you with answers. So now with that, I am going to be turning things over to our partners at Citizens. And we have Shivani and Nusrat with us. And I'm so thankful to have them in their expertise. And they will be sharing their resources to help advance the goals of financial harmony by empowering older adults and financial caregivers with some tools and information. And with that, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Kendra, and thank you so much, everyone joining today. And we are very glad for the platform. Just wanted to share how we can help our adults with this, with nowadays with all this going on with financial, all this fraud, and we are in the bank, Citizens Bank. We are from the bank. My name is Nusha. I'm the branch manager with the company for 21 plus years. So I'm so excited to joining today. So Kendra, we want to go to the next slides.
Yes.
I'm going to go for the next pages. So these are just the objects. So there is a lot of challenges when we deal with a lot of clients, and then especially with financial challenges with the elderly, our elderly customers with a lot of responsibility that we have, like the budgeting, when they're coming with the bill payments, monitoring their accounts, with the long-term planning. So those are the things we really try to help our clients. And then we sometimes they do coming to the branch and how they wanted to see like how we can help them. So we have some guidelines for them, so we are very respectful to their we try to see if they have any friends and family, or if they have, like the way that Andrew mentioned, if they have a power of attorney, if they have a guidance, if they have a legal somebody that legally can assist them. So make sure somebody is responsible to help them maintain, and make sure they are clear and open communication with them. They make sure they can take their special, clean, and financial decision. Make sure they can very transparent when they're taking those decisions. So those are the things, we're very transparent with them when they're coming to the bank asking us a question. Next slide, please. So when they're coming to the bank, we want to make sure we advise them the right decision. We make sure we help them to meet their financial goal, building the financial planning. So step by step, building financial planning, their income. So what is their income? What is their expenses? Creating the real estate budget, realistic budgeting, right? Planning the emergency. What is our first, what is the emergency like expenses for the day? What is our, make sure we plan ahead like that, and then make sure we are focusing what is our day-to-day expenses. And after that, what we should focus on, what is our short-term goal, what is our long-term goal. Next slide, please. So after that, when Shibangi.
Hello, everybody. Good night. My name is Shivani. I'm also from Citizen Bank. I've been in banking for almost 8 years now. I'm with Citizen for almost 3 years, and I will take where I will take part of where Nostra left on from. So the budgeting assistance for older adults. These are some steps for helping older adults with budgeting, which creates financial stability and peace of mind. So one of the steps was start with an open communication, sorry. Then another one would be simplify the process, prioritize essential expenses, review income sources, and encourage regular reviews. Those are some of the steps for budgeting for assisting for older adults. Next slide. Um, the next step is build an emergency fund. This is another important part of it. Setting a goal. Um, Aim to save at least 3 to 6 months of essential living expense. Start with a small goal if resources are limited. Um, Save consistency, prioritize needs, and choose the right account. Choose the right account is very important because just having like example for a checking account and you have a large funds available in the checking account is not earning any interest and it's just you don't have any long-term plans with it, it's just you're not making any money on it. So concerning different types of savings accounts, and we also have other stuff like CDs and etc. Those are stuff you want to consider to put your money up so that your money can grow. Um, Next slide. Managing debt. This is another important one is effectively managing debt as a financial caregiver reduces financial stress and increases stability. It can also free up much needed resources for essential expense and savings. The steps for managing debt effectively is one is evaluate outstanding debts. So all your debts, you notice car payments, mortgage, credit cards, etc. These are some. Prioritize the high interest ones, and then explore consolidating or refinancing. So like if you have a mortgage and if you have a high interest rate, you can consider refinancing to get a lower interest rate. Or if you have something, you can even consider if you want to do if you have a lot of credit cards and you have really high interest, you can consider something called HELOC, home equity line of credit, where you can get a smaller, a lower interest, and you can pay off for those credit card and just pay off from the HELOC. Um, Make timely payments. Um, that's a fourth step you can definitely consider. Like you can even make additional payments on it to help lower your debts. Next slide, managing medical expenses. These are some tips for managing medical expenses. These are five when we want to share you guys understand insurance coverage, negotiate medical bills, use prescription assistance programs, plan for long-term care costs, and leverage tax benefits. Next slide. Um, Warning signs of financial exploitations. These are some you want to consider. One is unusual financial activities, changes in financial documents, behavioral changes, new relationships, and unpaid bills or neglect. The unpaid bills and neglect are like they give you right like missed payments despite available funds and inadequate food or basic living necessities. Not sure, do you want to take it from there? Thank you.
Yes. So you know how Shivangi mentioned the warning signs, right? So we look into it like when customers are coming to a bank, sometimes we realize when they're coming. We really sometimes watch their transaction when they're coming. They keep we as a branch employee, we see them. They're very nervous. Sometimes they're very anxious. They keep looking back, and they're doing a transaction like out of norm. And we kind of understand when they're trying to do things like that. Somebody they're pressuring them. So those are like a warning sign. So now we're step two into like how we can protect them. What we do like against to protecting like their account and their finance, right? So Kindra, can you please go to the next slide? So what we do, we regularly we ask them to monitor their account, right? Something that they can look into it, like regular basis they can monitor their account. Sometimes they can set up an alert, right? So we even assist customer to set up their account, like set up the alert. Any unusual transaction, they can get a text message or stuff like that. And what they do, educate the alert, like some kind of like common scams, right? Sometimes they receive a phishing emails. Sometimes there's a Medicare fraud. They get like sometimes they get like phone calls. They get like scamming phone calls they receive, and they receive like they're saying, "Hey, this is from we're trying to verify this transaction. This is not from the bank." Somebody just pretending they're from the bank. So those are the things like we're trying to protect the customer. So secure their like sensitive document, like how statement, we're trying to educate our client, hey, try not to have a physical paper statement, try to have an online statement, electronic statement, because that goes to your email, it sits there. Most of the bank, their electronic statement sits there for 7 years, because sometimes statement, it's outside, somebody steal your statement, it's all your information out there, right? And then when you set up a password, try to set up a strong password, like not very simple password anybody can guess, right? Like verifying when requesting for any kind of like a identification. Make sure you don't share with them any kind of password. You don't share with anybody, right? Before you send any money to anybody, be very careful who you're sending the money to, right? Establishing power of attorney, the way that Andrew said, when you're establishing a power of attorney, do you trust that person, right? Because remember, you're giving somebody access to your information. Considering that credit, like your credit freeze, anybody can using your social, anybody can using all this information, right? Unauthorized credit application, anybody can go apply credit card, and they are even buying a house against your information. So those are the things we're trying to protecting against. Bank is trying to protecting our elderly generation. Kendra, next slide, please. So legal and the financial safeguard, again, power of attorney. This is something that you can, we can, our family members or our somebody that you can trust. Power of attorney, again, same thing, like legal authority that somebody can take a decision on behalf of you. Will, state planning, which they can, you can take this kind of planning ahead of time. Trust, credit monitoring, fraud prevention. There is certain thing that you can do credit monitoring. Sometimes you pay like monthly and they can monitor your credit. Nobody can play with your social security number. Anything happen, you're gonna get a alert, and nobody can use your social applying a illegal credit card or do something against your information, right? Document, you're organizing your documentation, right? So improper documentation, make sure you safeguard all your documentation. Next slide, please. So communication between your caregiver and an elderly adult. So it's a trust between our elderly adult and the caregiver, right? It's the relationship. How we taking the relationship, how we build the trust. So start the respect and empathy. Approach the financial conversation. It's a very sensitive relationship. Acknowledge our elderly adult independence and their experience. Create the safe space discussion. Choose the quiet comfort and when we're talking to them. We have to be very transparent with them when we're talking to them. We have to make sure what is their planning, how we are talking to them, when are we involved with their decision making, right? Are we checking with them? Scheduling, when we're understanding, are we understanding what exactly they're asking for? Next slide, please. When we professional help when we need it. So our in a bank, when our customer come in, they seek for advice. Again, when Shivangi was saying, like when we have a bank account having money sitting there, sometimes they have a 401k, 403b money coming in after retirement and something, what we're doing. Andrew said, are you setting up a beneficiary? So those are financial legal issue you have, legal advice you need, right? Budgeting channel, who are you helping? Right? Suspected for when you have it is who's there to help you, who's there to long-term planning care, who's helping to help you do the long-term care. Uncertainty when is a legal document, who's there to help. So who can consult with this legal your financial service? We have a financial advisor, which is our partner who can help with your investment, with your savings, with your budgeting plan. We have a elderly law attorney, which also on a bank side, we help with the will, planning the will, trust, and power of attorney. We also advise our customer to do that. Credit counseling. So elderly, we help with the debt management, financial education. Right now, what we're doing, the do the financial literacy. We do that from the bank side as well. Next slide, please. So tip for the financial caregiver. So create the system, track income, like every day what we always advise, make sure you know what's your bill, make sure you know your income, what is the income coming, how we are savings that, how we are managing that, right? Make sure your accounts, your elderly funds and owners, avoid mixing personal and your whatever your expenses and your income, you separate them. Be very transparent with our elderly adults and making sure you don't mix up both of them, right? Take a transparent decision with them. Prioritize your budgeting and your savings. It's so important that we do budgeting because at one point that time we don't have that income when we retire, we have the retirement. We are very encouraging that consistent contribution and emergency fund, because the fund, we always advise our client that this is the funds that we'd never planned. What if I have a car broke down? What if I lost my phone? What if I have to fix my roof, which I never found? What if I have my boiler broke down? Those are the things sometimes we don't know, right? Monitor your account unusual activity, that this is not me, right? Someone else probably had that account, right? Um, we have some common scam that going on. And when we need any help, financial head, make sure when you're coming to a bank or any financial institution, you speak to the specialist and let them know what exactly you need. And we're always there to help you. Next slide, please. So we're almost at the end. I just wanted to share something happened exactly today. I'm a branch manager, so customer came in and in front of me, she's talking to a somebody speaker. He's talking to an on a speaker, and somebody was telling them, "You go to a bank, you tell them that you have to send me money, and so and so reason." And thank God that he put the phone on his speaker. I was able to hear the whole conversation. So, and then he was trying to tell them that, oh, why I have to send you money? So these are the things we're just trying to discuss with our client, that be very careful. They always target our um, elderly generation because they think they're very lonely and they think they're very emotional, and thus so they always target, and that's what they try to do. We spend more than 2 hours have this whole conversation, because before customer coming to the bank, he gave out all his information, which we end up closing all his account and open brand new account. So just be very careful. If anything happen, always come to the bank, make sure you share what exactly happened. Don't give any information over the phone, anybody, your bank information, your social security number, your address, your information. Do not share with anybody, because this is your information. You're not supposed to share with anybody if you're not sure about it. That's all I have to say. And I just wanted to let you know again, my name is Nusrat. I'm the branch manager, and my location is Hillside Avenue, Jamaica, Queens. If you guys have any question, concern, you always can visit my branch.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much, Nasrat. And thank you, Shivani, for this presentation. And I do want to say thank you to all of our attendees also. Andrew and I were just talking earlier about how we're coming off the holidays. And this is a time where, it forces you to remember certain things that needs to be like housekeeping things. We're seeing our parents and our sisters, and we're getting older, or we're not seeing some people, and there may be a reason to go back and revisit our plans, or maybe to start a plan, as we are aging, as our parents are aging, and health is happening. There's a lot of things that's going on these days. So please take the time to reach out to us. This is the info email address that you can email if you have specific questions. If you want to get a will completed, you can reach out to us. Andrew is here to assist you through that. Or if you just have questions, or you can go and make appointments at the Hillside branch of Citizens Bank and have Nisra help you out, or go over in depth more details that may be particular, specific to your situation. But right now, this is our time for questions. So if something was not clear, or you have a particular situation that is not too specific, please feel free to type your question in the chat, or raise your hand and I can unmute you and you can ask the experts directly.
And I do just want to add in, Kendra, also, I know that we're targeting a lot here. We're speaking to a lot of elderly caregivers for elderly people. And I want to say that very often it's the caregiver who's the person who I hear from first. A lot of the time the elderly individual may not be able to make the call. They may not be comfortable making the call. Or there may be a whole host of reasons why a caregiver is going to be the person that first comes to us. So I think that it's a really valuable thing you can do for some of the people that you care for, just to get this process started, even if you can't shepherd it through the end. Even though, I think just the first step is often the most important when making a plan like this.
Absolutely agree. So I'm not sure if there are caregivers on here. I can't see any of you. But please, if there are any questions, you're seeing your loved ones and people you care for aging and having difficulties, like Nusrak was explaining how a elderly person came in and someone's literally trying to scam them. Um, we may have to step in and help and find out ways we can do that. So yes, thank you, Andrew, for bringing that up. It doesn't look like we have any questions tonight. And that's okay too. So you can always email us at info@buj.org. And I actually manage that mailbox along with my colleague Teresa. I do see a hand raised. Janice, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and you'll be able to ask your question.
Okay, so how do you find out if a will has been probated? My dad died and he remarried, and his new wife did not have a relationship with our family.
Mm-hmm.
She disliked us intensely. So
Yeah.
we have no clue if his will was probated. How would you find that out? Is that
Yeah. This is a very common thing, as you can imagine. This kind of issue comes up a lot. And so wills that have been probated are public in New York State. So the way that you look it up is that there is a website called Web Surrogate. And let me get the link and I will pop it into the chat. Just bear with me one second. And on this website, the way that it works is you go to the county that whoever passed away, it would be your father, you go to the county that he lived in at the time when he passed away. And you can then search for him by name, and then you'll see all of the estates that came up with his name. It could be anybody going back, I believe the records electronically go back to 2014. If you have an older estate, you have to go down to the court to actually see the documents. But for a more recent estate, it'll all be electronically there, except for certain documents are hidden for privacy purposes. But if you go there, you can see if anything was ever begun in surrogate's court in the county that he lived in, and you can see the status of that case. You can also see usually the will be there, and you can look at the will, and the petition for probate will also be there. So you do that through that website, Web Surrogate, and that's another thing that we can also help determine if necessary, if that's something that you have difficulty with.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Janice. Again,
Thank you.
if you need
Of
more
course.
assistance, please email us. We're happy to help.
Thank
Um,
you.
we do have a couple of more questions in the Q&A. There is someone anonymous, and they want to know, what is the cost of implementing a will or a trust?
So we don't charge for our services at BUJ as long as you're eligible. And after you go through our intake process, if we accept you as a client, we don't charge anything for our services. So that's a great thing that we're able to offer to those who we can offer it to. And it's something that I know is very exciting for a lot of people. Through the private market, it often depends. I think you'll often see if someone's looking for what I would consider a standard estate planning package, that would be like a will, a power of attorney, and a healthcare proxy. Those are usually flat fee, and they can range usually from $1,000 to $2,000 per individual. A married couple will usually probably be 25 or 3. When you start getting trusts involved, it does get more expensive because there's an added layer of complexity. You may be looking at more like 4 or 5 grand on the private market with that. But again, for us, if we're able to accept you as a client, we don't charge any fee.
Thank you. Deborah had a comment and a question. Deborah was a caregiver and wished that she had this information during that time. This is valuable information and would like to know how can we get our community leaders involved with you to get these services to the community. Part of what I do as the external affairs coordinator is I do coordinate with a lot of our elected officials and community leaders and other nonprofits and CBOs, community-based organizations throughout the 5 boroughs. Deborah, please, if you ever see a need for this kind of programming somewhere, feel free to email me at the info@buj.org and we can talk further. If, maybe you have a resource center or something that we can produce a fact sheet for that could be distributed. Or if there's a particular community that is not getting this information, I'm happy to reach out to elected officials and other organizations in that area. So use that info@buj.org email address and we'll be happy to get in touch. All righty. Awesome, Deborah. Thank you. I look forward to hearing from you. Now, before I end this call, are there any other questions? No question is too small or too big right now. Well, it might be too big. I don't know, but we'll figure it out. Don't be shy. Um, I'm not seeing anything else in the Q&A or in the chat, and I am not seeing any other hand raises. So, with that, I definitely want to say thank you again for joining us tonight. Thank you to Citizens Bank, Nusrat and Shivani. I appreciate you joining us tonight and wanting to share this kind of programming with our folks that know us and follow us. And Andrew, thank you so much for always being here for us to
Of
continue
course.
to get this information out to our folks. Yes. And do we get the replay? Absolutely, Deborah. Thank you for bringing that up. After this recording, probably by Monday, I will be sending you a link to this recording as well as the slide decks and then the surrogate court, that information, that link that Andrew put in the chat and our email address. So you'll have access to all that and you will be able to share this information. Now, next in 2 weeks, we do have a Retire Ready webinar coming up. So if you are thinking you're ready for retirement or want to get ready for retirement, this may be some valuable information for you. But I'll send out emails to you about that also. But thank you, everyone. Happy New Year. This is our first webinar of 2026. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you all again. Thank you, Nizrat, Shivani,
Thank you.
Andrew.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Thank you.